my stainless steel.
I'm not sure you know what matching is. Stainless steel doesn't match that hat.
I don't know.
I'm not good at matching, so I could be completely wrong too. Alright, YouTube should be going too. Alright.
Wow. Looks like a silver hat. Really? Your colors must be off.
Yeah.
Does it look like a silver hat?
No,
Is
it's
it poor quality?
navy and beige, I would say.
Yeah.
I guess I could see silver.
It's straw.
Your background matches the silver cup more, I would say.
It's straw hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Alright, while you adjust that, I'm gonna roll our beautiful bean footage here.
Roll it. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Roll it.
Oh, good, he sees it now.
Dun, dun, dun. Welcome everyone, D7X Tech Show. We are live and on the air on YouTube and Twitch. We got myself, Brantley, and Nick here, and Proctor will be joining us shortly. And we got Fred already in the chat. Welcome, Fred.
Yep.
Yeah, your colors have got to be really off if they're matching that to silver. What color was the cup?
Yeah. Yeah. That could, I don't know, I could see I don't know.
I know a big trend in monitors nowadays is like the color calibration stuff. I haven't done that with any of my monitors ever, so.
Me either.
I could be seeing colors completely
Well,
wrong.
silver could have a blue tint to it, and I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, have you color calibrated any of your monitors ever?
I seem to recall maybe doing it once. I don't know, but I don't know. So, I mean, generally, no. Let's just say no.
Yeah. I know they make devices and stuff that do it, so, but I don't. I'm not a graphic designer or anything, so I don't care about my colors as much. Code looks the same with a blue tint or a red tint or a green tint, whichever Spectrum wants to show. So good there. I know you said you had to talk about software here, but real quick, Happy Pi Day, everyone! Today is Pi Day.
Pi Day. It's Pi Day. Oh, B. I thought you said Friday at first, too. Pi Day, that makes more sense on a Thursday.
Yeah. Also, there was another thing that Google apparently trashed the record for calculating digits of pi. So if you were into memorizing all the known digits of pi, you got a lot more to memorize a full weekend ahead. If you're into that kind of thing, I don't even think people are. Would you be physically capable of memorizing pi now?
Sheesh.
Yeah, 2.7 trillion digits.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. That was September 2010. What's it now?
Just like they have a gauge.
31 trillion digits. So the previous record was 22 trillion. Now it's 31 trillion digits. So you wouldn't even be able to like know anything other than numbers. Like you would forget how to eat and drink if you memorize 31 trillion digits.
Yeah.
Geez, that's like incalculable.
Yeah.
So pi does go on forever, apparently. We're pretty sure to that now.
Yeah.
Holy crap, it would take 332,064 years to say the 31.4 trillion digit number. It would take 300,000 years to say pi.
What?
Yeah.
Dang. So you couldn't recite it.
Yeah. 31.4 trillion is how many they calculated to. That would be funny if they did do that. It doesn't say that that's what they did here. Here's the. Oh no, it is 31.4 trillion digit number. That's fun. Yeah. Here's the link to the Google article talking about it. So yeah, they do have 31.4 trillion digits of pi now to match 3.14. That was a good record to go for. It's worth it.
Beavis hasn't said a word. Beavis.
Is he a big pi fan?
I believe so. I believe he likes the pie.
He might be pi comatose.
Could be.
Could be
involved in some. He could be involved in some other pie festivity right now and missing on the show.
He could be trying to type, but his hands are filled with pie.
Yeah.
All right, so software stuff. What you got?
Oh, I got a number of things. Did we talk about safe mode, Microsoft accounts, passwords not working?
No,
temporary admin account.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about that this time.
Okay. So safe mode, when you're on a machine that's just a Microsoft account and you go to safe mode, there's a big problem with safe mode accepting passwords for these Microsoft accounts. Let's see, BootSafe, a new version of BootSafe, and d7x also create a temporary admin account when it puts you into safe mode. Because, the way BootSafe runs is it has to log in to safe mode to undo itself. So, but if you go to safe mode and you can't log in because it's not accepting your Microsoft account password, then there's an issue. Then there's a big problem. So, a temporary admin account is created now with BootSafe and with d7x as well. The d7x release is like 932 or above, which there's several releases. There's 2 releases since then, but got those updated. And that one, the only difference between the two is BootSafe creates a BootSafe_temp_admin account. That's the name of it. D7x creates a D7x_temp_admin account, and it's also removed when you restart from safe mode. As long as you log into an account that is not that temporary admin account, it will be removed automatically when you restart to normal mode and you don't log into that account.
Nice.
So But if you
Fred,
log into another account, it will still go, hey, you haven't logged in to a different account yet, so I won't delete. I'll delete. It's always going to delete as soon as you log into an account that's not the temp admin. So, anyway, and so you were going to say to Fred?
if you have D7X, you have BootSafe. BootSafe is just a quick portable app that utilizes that similar functionality, but D7X
now,
has it all built in, and
it does. It does, but it's not updated. So here's the thing: there is a BootSafe in D7X, and although D7X is updated and you use D7X functionality to do your safe mode restart, it's built in. But the BootSafe that comes as a D7 as a module is not that will only be updated if you're running from like an SFX, not an RDT remote deployment tool, or
if you go in and delete it.
You can, if you go in and actually you have to delete the whole modules directory under D7X resources, but then it will download the newest one. But so it's also available as a standalone. It's the same exact file that you will get.
Or you could download BootSafe and put it in your modules folder.
Yeah, I meant to say that. That's what I was going to say. It's the same exact file. So you could do that too, I guess.
So that also brings up a good point too, is if you want to check out that modules folder, there are other portable apps in there. They might just want to use a quick thing.
I think what's in there now? What's in there right now? Actually, before the modules folder, there's a couple files just in the resources folder. But then once you get into the modules folder, and what the deal is everything in the modules folder was part of D7.2, and everything that's been pulled out and rewritten in D7X code is outside the modules folder, with the exception of BootSafe. Like what I'm going to actually move BootSafe out into the D7X resources folder in a future release, and see. Basically, I could actually have D7X download that right now without having to release a new D7X. It's just a matter of updating this update file with the appropriate information for it to download the update by itself. But see, everything managed in the D7X resources folder that's not in the modules subfolder, everything that's not in that module subfolder is the update for that is maintained along with the application updates for D7X. So and it's done separately, so like it will download only what is necessary, and everything in the modules folder is still a holdback from D7.2. So that's why it's not updated right now, technically, even though it will be if, like we talked about a minute ago, you can, ultimately I need to move it out of the modules folder and into the resources folder, because I will maintain it separately from, a future release.
Yeah.
So I'll do that at a future time, actually. I just haven't done it yet.
So the issue with safe mode isn't like a regular thing either. Like it's a...
Yeah.
From what I was seeing in the search results you'd posted previously, like it sounds like sometimes safe mode works with passwords, sometimes it doesn't. Microsoft accounts throw a big loop in that too. So it's kind of like an unknown bug. Unknown known bug.
That's why we haven't had a ton of because BootSafe was as a standalone app was recently the subject of an article on Experts Exchange, and I know we got a bunch of downloads after that. but like there were a bunch of downloads already, and since whenever I put up the counter, but I mean, it's at version 5 now. It's been a long time since it's been out.
Yeah.
And no one, really like complains about that. The number one complaint I've heard about that's been from like through d7x through d7 users who have run into that where the password doesn't work, and it's like, oh, luckily they're techs and they can get out of the mess. But yeah, from the standalone perspective, we haven't really heard anything from anyone, so it apparently isn't always the case.
Yeah,
But it could be the case.
Not a widespread problem, but this completely circumvents the possibility of an issue arising, which
Right.
being locked into safe mode is a big deal if you're not a tech and had just tried to get into safe mode using that. Because when you do it, it always boots into safe mode. Is that correct?
Yes.
So no matter when you start up Windows, it's going into safe mode.
Yeah, you'll have to go to recovery console and type in a command to fix it.
Repair this. Or you do the startup repairs.
Startup repair, yeah.
That would do it too. Which I'm really glad they added in that Windows. I think they did that in 7. Added the repair startup.
7, yeah, I believe so. Might have been.
Sweet.
Well, yeah, so that's good. Speaking of with d7x and everything, there also I just gotta plug the forums because that's how Fred is. Fred's like plug the forums.
Okay.
And there's a chat room too here in the IRC for d7x support. So just plug in that. Check out the forums, Fred says. Yeah. So I actually have more software news.
Go for it.
Right? Forever I've had IFEO modifier, and that has sometimes and not always been on the website as a standalone utility. It wasn't on the website as a standalone utility. It hasn't been for a long time, like it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now, but I mean, people are like, "What's the IFEO?" And our tax that's one thing for the tax. It's another thing for people, right? So now it's on the website again as under the name Program Blocker because it blocks programs.
Yep.
So the IFEO modifier, technically you could do this with the old IFEO modifier. You can't do it with Program Blocker. There's there's another thing that you can do, and that is yet another program I'll tell you about in a minute. And so IFEO modifier has basically been split into 2 different programs that do what they sound like they're supposed to do. Program Blocker, it blocks programs. That's all it does, and that's all that you would have used it for really anyway before.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and that doesn't use software restriction policies like Crypto Prevent, and it blocks the executable by the executable name, no matter where it's running in the file system.
So real quick, IFEO modifier is a kind of a developer tweak in Windows, right? Where developers, I forget what they use it for exactly, but
it's image file execution option is the name of the registry key where all of these entries are created.
Yeah, it's so you can write something and have it as a different name, but it'll run this instead.
That's what it does. And well, what it actually does is it's made for developers to use the debug software. Well, like you can, like we're in a debug software would attach itself as a debugger to a certain program.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is that the program that it ends up running. So like if you try to run Notepad, you can have it run notepad.exe, for example, it would be blocked. We're talking about program blocker. It would be blocked no matter where notepad.exe was found on the computer.
Yep. But Nick,
where I was going with that.
Well, real quick, Nick had, because I remember you found it out in the shop that to when we couldn't find where a program was starting up, so malicious software kept starting up, and Nick figured out this trick to stop that from happening, and integrated into d7x from there. So it's really helpful if something is really hidden in the 101 different places that Windows starts programs from automatically without letting you know where all those 101 program locations are. Autoruns does a pretty good job, but there's still some places out there that sneaky people find and still are finding. So
yeah. The IFEO modifier was really good for blocking malware that was running. We couldn't figure out. That did run good. The way it actually works is the file that it runs instead, which would be the debugger, sort of, and how the debugger would have to get the information is it would have to get the information on the file that it was supposed to debug, so that the debugger could actually run the actual file, right?
Yep.
So the IFEO modifier makes that happen. And the way that it works is that what would be the debugger, and in the case of a new program switcher is the other end of IFEO modifier. And let me link to that program switcher. So that's the other new program. And what that does is it switches one program for another. So that like in program blocker, when it blocks the program, it points to a file that doesn't exist, or it does exist if you put the check mark in the box that says, whatever. Don't the check marks in program blocker that says, oh my goodness, prevent file not found errors. So when you prevent file not found errors, it'll put that little executable in there, which does nothing, but it just suppresses the file not found error from program blocker. Yeah. Well, that same tweak is used in program switcher to redirect to another app, and it works like the debugger would. So program switcher has a little component that just sits there and waits for the IFEO it creates for, like, say, all right, so what you can do is,
I'm getting ahead of myself. For Fred's example, yes, you could have anywhere you use notepad.exe, it would just open Notepad++ if you use the program switcher, where program blocker would just block it from running.
Yeah. Anytime. Yeah, exactly. So it uses the same, what you call technology, IFEO modifier technology, but it does that instead. And like, I have a video on the program switcher page that shows me using it and why I use it for paint.net. I have it point MS Paint to paint.net, and the whole point of it is that when Windows updates, and then and those major ones, it decides to take over my default file associations again, the Notepad will always go to Notepad++, and all text files will go to Notepad++, any text file or anything that Notepad would normally open. And in addition, what gets me about paint.net is, all right, I have the preview. I still have the Windows photo viewer when I double click on a lot of files, a lot of my JPEGs and stuff like that, right? So if you change, like, there's the registry entries are there, like paint.net wanted it to be a thing. I've created the registry entries myself in other places, just in every place that you could possibly put it, just to make sure this would happen, to take over the edit. So when you right click and go to edit, never have I gotten it to work on my Windows 10. It does not work. So edit will always open up MS Paint if I have, like, the only way around that is if I go choose another app, right?
Yep.
And then select paint.net. Of course, that'll get overwritten the next major Windows update. But even then, what it does is that takes over, and then preview using the Windows Photo Viewer is no longer an option, right? So this way, with the program switcher, having it just run each time it's supposed to run Paint, or Windows wants to run Paint, it'll run paint.net instead. So this way, I get to have paint.net as the edit, and then program switcher. Because of that,
Photo preview opens the
preview will still open in Photo Viewer. So yay, like, that makes me happy, and it'll persist across major Windows updates.
Yeah. So program switcher is a really good way to replace default Windows apps everywhere in Windows with a custom app.
Right, exactly.
To say it quickly.
Yeah, except for there's one limitation, though, because the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to replace the Windows Video.
Mm-hmm.
The new, like, the Windows Store, like the UWP app. So that doesn't work. I can't redirect that to Media Player, because there's something about, like, the UWP app. When a UWP app is not running, like, if you
suspended or something,
like if the UVP app is not a UVP app, then that kicks an error, and that's what happened. So there was some error about the app being corrupted, and it wouldn't run, and it was because it wasn't a UW whatever Universal Windows Platform app. And because the video app is supposed to be. So that was like video.ui.exe was the name of that one. And so when I tried that, it did not work. So it wasn't. There is still, like, it's not perfect, I guess, with the UVP app. But even if, like, from the malware perspective, right? If the malware were like a UWP app, if you were using, say, Program Blocker, you would at least that would still work. You would just kick a different error, probably. But that's yeah. So those are the two programs that came out of IFEO Modifier, and they're both on the website. I put Program Blocker up there. I let them know on Major Geeks that there was a Program Blocker. I have, gosh, what I have, let's see. Before I did that, okay, so 229 downloads, Program Blocker, since that time, a week ago, or a couple days ago. Program Switcher, a couple days ago, or yesterday, or whatever. No, it was 2 days ago. Downloaded 16 times. So,
blocking is much more prevalent. And I can see that, because you want to block something more than you would want to switch it normally. But there is still a lot of good use cases. The Notepad and the Paint thing right off the bat are two excellent cases for it.
Yeah, and so I'm happy, because that helps me. Like, I wrote that for me.
Yeah. Well, that's some of the best software, I think, is where the developer writes it for.
Yeah, I just wish I had more time to write stuff for me. But when I write stuff for me, like, I'm happy. I enjoy doing that. And so those tend to be like the free utilities, on the website. So other than d7x, which I wrote for me long ago. So
it's evolved to others.
Yeah. So I have more software news.
Go for it.
I told you I had a lot of software news.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Fred mentioned something about secure erasing and a Brightech video. he mentioned about on the forums. Fred did. He mentioned about watching this Brightech video, and it had this USB flash drive that was, red key USB, and I was just responding to the post, and it just got me off and like sidetracked a little bit, and it got me to thinking about d-erase when I wrote this program a long time ago.
We mentioned the red key on the show here too.
Did we mention the red key on the show? We probably did.
Because it was Linus did a video on it.
Linus did. Oh
video to it because it's what's nice about it versus what you had was the fact that it's a boot environment.
So, and it does the whole
it does the whole hard drive,
and so d-erase is like the same thing, but it's for assassinating files that without doing the whole drive, kind of thing. It can be used securely to do secure delete like that. It can also fill the drive with garbage data so that it overwrites all of the free space and then writes over, all the files that have been deleted but are still there, kind of thing. When it deletes, of course it overwrites the file with data, renames it to no extension, and then deletes it. So the file's overwritten like 3 times for each secure pass, and then you can choose the number of secure passes. D-erase. So the web page was up, but the download was nowhere to be found. And so then I had to go hunting down the source code. And I found the source code, and I converted it to d7x platform code, and I re-released it as version 3 with a few changes. Like previously, when you selected the drive, it would do the secure delete on the drive and then fill it up with garbage data, filling up the drive. Now, those are separate operations. So you can just fill up the garbage. You don't have to delete everything on the drive. You can just fill it up with garbage data. So that's different. So it's made the way it functioned before a 2-step process now. And then the other thing was it used to overwrite a file 7 times for each secure pass, and now it only does 3 times. And this is because I found it takes an extremely long time to delete stuff. So I just ratcheted that down, and then you can control that with your number of secure passes, which you can always control that because that's a multiplier essentially times 3. So the scripting and everything else is the same. It still ignores file system permissions and ownership, which was a good thing. So you can just like drag and drop a file. Like if you even in a malware situation, you could like drag and drop a file that, or it's another user's file. It's from another user account, or like you can just browse right to it, through the app.
The red key is more geared at corporate environments where they're trying to wipe lots of drives constantly, and so like
and that's
when they're
nice.
replacing
It's like you
systems,
just put it in. It's like you just put it in and it just goes. It's just like, hey, in 30 seconds I'm gonna start wiping this drive. So you have 30 seconds to choose advanced options.
But it's mainly for bigger corporations that are on a life cycle for systems. Like you just want to get rid of this system, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of time worrying about wiping the drive or even pulling it out, putting it in another system. Because everything it does is basically what you've been doing with d-erase for a long time. It's just with d-erase, you either have to boot into a PE environment that you create, or hook the drive up to your tech bench computer, which if you're in a large corporate environment and you're wiping hundreds of machines every 2 or 3 months, then the key is worth I think it's like $30 or $40 that they're charging for that.
I don't know.
It's a Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
I think the red key by itself, because they have a blue key and a green key, and these are for like data backup, and one's for like they have instructions on just setting it up as a Windows installer with the media creation tool.
On the Kickstarter, it says pledge $33 or more to get a single red key.
Really?
And it's
On the
July
website now,
2019.
it was 69 euros, I think.
Yeah, now it's 33 pounds. So
33 pounds.
Yeah,
I think it was
44 pounds gets you the red and blue, and 59 pounds gets you the red, blue, and green. They were also supposed to do some updates and stuff. Like I'm not downplaying Red Key at all. I think it is a good idea, and a boot environment is really nice. But I'm just saying, if you don't have a ton of computers that you have to do wipes on, I think it would be better to go with a PE environment or a tech bench and wipe the drives yourself.
like Fred was talking about using DBAN, just some like Linux boot CD or something,
Yeah.
I mean, you're as a tech can do that, So it may or may not be worth the money as an individual tech to do that. You would want to be doing a lot of that type of work, I guess. But and one of the things I mentioned in the post even is there should be some room for that type of work for data destruction, as a service, data destruction as a service, AAS, DDAAS. Beavis has arrived. We can start. Beavis, you missed all of the Pi Day talk.
Yeah. 31.4 trillion digits of pi are now known.
Yep.
Get to memorizing.
I was just talking about all of the stuff on, and you're never going to memorize that, by the way. I've just been talking about all the stuff with all of the free software that we sell, all the new programs, the program blocker, the program switcher.
All the free software we offer. We don't sell free software.
Did I say sell?
Yeah.
I meant offer. Yeah. We were just talking about all that stuff.
I guess we sell free software.
You can get that for $0.00.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll sell it to Beavis.
I only have one more bit of software news, and this is probably like not even for the environment, but I'm going to kick it out there right now, is the support suite is now half the price that it used to be. The support suite is now $2.99. It used to be $5.99, and I dropped it to $2.99, and it's been included with D7 for a little while now. Not $2.99, Fred. $2.99.
Yeah.
And 0 cents. But yeah, so the client software has been included in D7 for a little while now, and I just felt like the management aspect of it could be cheaper to let people do that instead. It's been a little bit since it's been hot, so I want to give it more whatever. And we already had a sale on it today. I think I dropped it silently, like I did it like a week or two ago, and I didn't even say anything to anybody. I just did. By the way, I did this.
For those of you wondering, DSSD Support Suite is kind of the, I guess it's more. The concept started off as a business card app.
A digital calling card. Yeah.
So what you would do is you'd install the client on a system that you'd fixed. They're able to open up that and run a couple things that you could configure and basically have your name and support. And if they needed support, it could open up your website or your ticketing system or however you want to do that. The Support Suite added a management that allows you to update those and monitor various things and get
Just
email
update the
alerts from.
configs. Yeah, you can change the config and change your branding if you need to. Change your config as far as what the customer can do. Which they have options like the fixed internet, which fixed my mom's internet on a while back. It be easy to talk to. It's easy to talk to someone on the phone and say, "Okay, open that app. All right, now click the fix internet button." And all of a sudden, like their WinSox reset and everything else, and it doesn't do anything terribly major, but it does the WinSock fix through the D7X does.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a couple of things like that. Clear print queue.
Clear print queue comes in handy a lot.
Yeah. Clear print queue is nice to have.
Yeah, it is basically a bare bones MSP suite. That's a good way to word it.
It's a good way, except for there's not real monitoring of anything like that on the customer end.
I mean, it has the. I was going to say the management also added things like event log monitoring. So if they get disk errors in their event log, which most people don't check their event log regularly and wouldn't know that Windows is trying to tell them their hard drive's about to die, which not sure why Windows decided the best place to put that was in the event log that no one sees, not like a little window somewhere. Hey, your drive's about to die. It'll send an email to, you can configure either you and the client or just you or just the client, and then they can take action from there by calling you to get it fixed. But event log monitoring also has a whole lot of good options. You can use it in conjunction with Crypto Prevent and get alerts on things being blocked or being trying to be run. And any other events you're trying to look for, like the printer issues, they have events for those. Remote desktop, if you wanted to make sure nobody's remoting into a system that shouldn't be or when they shouldn't be.
The only thing is, it's not like a system where there's like an online dashboard to show you all that stuff. It's not like that.
It doesn't monitor the processes and
you get emails
and stuff.
You get emails on things like that you configure like that.
Yep.
So that's one of those things that you don't configure an awful lot of for an awful lot of people, or do an awful lot of stuff like that, especially if the customer's getting the emails too. But if you're getting the emails, that's going to take some filter rules, in your email app to filter through the ones that you get through customers. Well, I got one customer with 2,000 people on it. Now he's still on our hosted service where we hosted the FTP server. Like the way it is now, when you buy it, it's yours, but you host the FTP server too, because it's yours. It's your app. Once you buy it, it's the one-time purchase. So, well, I've got one guy who's still paying for the old hosted service, and I may bring that back. I haven't decided yet. I may bring that hosted service back with and without the license for it. Maybe I'm considering it, but he's on the hosted service. He's got over 2,000 customers on D Support Suite, and it's doing things like doing the general maintenance for the people, deleting 10 files every month and stuff like that.
Is the old forms the original form still? Is all the previous data from the original forms on the new forms? So
from the previous forms.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was a link to an outside source or if it's still there or not. But there was someone that was doing Excel workbook for monitoring with DSS and really enjoyed it. I forget who that was and what it was, but it was they had put a lot of time into it and had it set up with Excel and monitoring and color codes and all kinds of. They basically made a dashboard for it in Excel. So
I
don't know if I could even find the link to it right now, but if you search the forums, you might run into that. So look around there.
I'll be right back.
Okay. While you go there, Windows updated this past Tuesday, so if you're getting notifications to restart, you might want to restart.
Yeah, I lost all the information in my notepads.
Oh man, use OneNote, man.
Yeah,
OneNote is
I
notepads.
do for most things, but like a quick note, I just throw it in the notepad.
Every time, like if I still use Notepad for quick note stuff, but if ever I'm at a point that I'm about to walk away from the system, I take everything in my Notepad, various ones, and copy it to a OneNote page real quick, just for situations like that.
That's a good idea.
So yeah, use Notepad for quick, and then if you definitely don't want to lose it in the future, like when you walk away from the computer, just copy it over to OneNote. That's how I've been doing it. But on that note, Windows 7 is going to start showing notifications about the support ending. So Windows 7 is going to start nagging you about that. They on this page, we don't know what the notifications look like yet, but this one it shows what it looked like for XP. And XP did give you the option to not show this message again. I feel like Microsoft's going to not do that with 7. But they have said that they're not going to bring back the Get Windows 10 campaign where you could get your first, you could get a free license of Windows 10 with a Windows 7 copy. I would say if they get too much pushback on people moving from Windows 7 when it does end, then they might bring that back. And I guess my biggest thing would be, do you think a lot of people would move over to Windows 10 if they could upgrade it for free now? Like, I understand the people that didn't take advantage of that when it first came out and were upset about it nagging them all the time because they still had 3 years worth of Windows 7 updates to go through, 3 or 4 years. Now that Windows 10 has matured and up until last year been fairly stable, do you think more people would move to Windows 10 now freely if they could get it for free from a Windows 7? Or do you think it would be about the same, like those people that didn't move are just Windows 7 diehard fans and aren't going to move?
I think people are going to move simply because support's ending for 7. They're going to go kicking and screaming, but they're going to go.
And I really don't see the big issue. I do have a couple virtual machines that are Windows 7 that do basic tasks. Actually, the one that I use all my links for here is a Windows 7 system. But that's because Windows 7 seems to run better in a virtualized environment than Windows 10. I haven't had many issues with my Windows 10 virtual machine recently, but I know for the first few years there, Nick's even mentioned a couple times that his Windows 10 VM runs really sluggish sometimes, and the settings, there's something there. But yeah, I use Windows 7 for simple one-use task things, like my links for the show is on a dedicated Windows 7 machine. But my main system and any other system that I use regularly is on Windows 10, and I don't have many issues with it or problems, especially compared to my Windows 7 days where wiping and reloading Windows 7 was a routine regularly. And now Windows 10, I'm at the point where, oh man, I gotta reformat finally. It's been so long since I've done that. I don't want to. My Windows 10 on my main system, actually, I do need to format and reload because it's just been every now and then weird quirks or things that shouldn't, and I just want to get that there. But I'm still pushing it off because it runs fine 90 to 95% of the time. And I think that's pretty good stability and uptime for most situations. Like I said, even if it is a problem, it's like a quirk that a program's not starting right, or something's not shutting down right, or something's not running as perfectly as I would want it to, and it's not like consistent. So it crashed every Windows system. The Windows 10 upgrade crashed every Windows system in your area. I know a lot of people, and it was almost an adware campaign when they were pushing Windows 10, but I really do think you missed out on a good deal if you didn't upgrade your licenses to Windows 10. Some of the systems I did it on, I did it just so I could have the license, and then I reverted back to Windows 7 on it. So that's coming. It's not here yet. You still have about a little under a year, I think, to prepare to not get updates for Windows 7 unless you're a corporation or volume licensing. I think it's volume licensing or educational volume licensing. You'll have the option to purchase extended support for Windows 7 that will increase in cost each year past the expiration date. So if you are in a corporate environment and you need more time to migrate programs or things to Windows 10, Microsoft is offering that right out the gate here, but it is going to cost you, and it's not going to last forever either. So we'll see how it goes there. Windows XP has been without updates for a long time. I wouldn't recommend anyone running XP anymore on the internet, especially for any purpose. If you don't have it on the internet, it's fine, I guess. But I would never go back to XP. Never. I would never go back to XP now. There's absolutely no reason. I hate testing crypto prevent in XP when I do it. Like, I'm just like this. It's terrible. If you have this on the internet and you use this regularly, I feel bad for you right now, because Windows 7 is way better and Windows 10 is even better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Definitely.
But speaking of Windows 10 and their issues with updates, they're offering a new feature. I'm not sure if it's out directly now, but basically they've added kind of the startup repair stuff that we were talking about earlier. If Windows 10 has an issue starting up, it automatically tries to do startup repair. They've added in a new feature there where it'll try to uninstall recent updates to see if that'll fix the startup issue.
Oh, nice.
So kind of a nice thing there. My only concern about it would be the feedback loop. Well, yeah, the need for it's a big concern, but I would be considering the feedback loop, because as soon as it does boot into Windows 10, it's going to start downloading and trying to install those updates again. You reboot, and it goes back and uninstalls it, and then the process starts over. I would be interested to see how they do that. Like I said, I'm not positive if it's fully out now or if it's a Windows Insider thing at the moment, but yeah, kind of interesting that they're going that route. And honestly, I can't say that's a bad thing. I mean, we've had issues with updating our software where we've had to release another one immediately after it, and we're more focused and we're not a operating system size code. I think that's the biggest thing that kind of irks me, especially now that I've been developing code for a while. Like, Crypto Prevent is a simple program. It doesn't do a whole lot, but it's a lot of code for one person to maintain. D7x is a more complex program, but in reality, it's not a huge program. Like, it's definitely more complex than Crypto Prevent or anything else that we offer here. But I mean, when you take a look at like Photoshop, that's much more complex and moving parts and things. Office, much more complex and moving parts stuff. The more you go up in levels, you're going to top out at OS. And the complexity of updating an operating system, especially with the intensity that Microsoft puts on backwards compatibility, like IFEOs, that was XP introduced.
No, I don't know. I think that maybe 2000 or.
Well, 2000 was XP
before.
almost, I think.
Yeah. or before. It could be. I mean,
So it may have been NT based or 95 based or somewhere
it could
along
have even
those
been
lines.
95 based. It
Yeah.
could have been. Who
The
knows?
point there is that it has been in the OSs for a long time, and it's still supported to this day. The backwards compatibility that they put on it, and the amount of, the source code for this, one person wouldn't be able to maintain it. Linux is a great example. It started off as one person building Linux, and now just the kernel, the main thing that runs stuff in the OS, is maintained by a group of people, including the person who created it. So it's massive, massive amounts of code. And I think people kind of put a little bit, like, don't get the complexity there when an update fails. Like, you gotta kind of give a little bit of leeway on that. Like, they do try to do testing, they do try to make sure it works, but even with crypto prevent making some simple changes somewhere, I've had it do things I did not expect and couldn't have found myself until somebody else was doing something a certain way with the certain things, and ended up being an issue. So I say give Microsoft a little bit of a break on updates. Like, I understand your fear of them and that it causes you an issue, but the complexity that is Windows is pretty ginormous.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a little rant there. Other fun news: DuckDuckGo is your preferred search. Is that right?
That's what I've been using lately. Yeah.
Google Chrome now offers that as a search engine option. So where you can make the default search engine a different one. They've added that in kind of silently. It's still going to go through Google for your search. Like, your search query is going to go through Google, who then is passing it to DuckDuckGo. So you're not getting a whole lot of privacy out of there, but it is nice that they're still offering options and not the lockdown search things. And I think they keep it through updates versus where you said Opera changes your default search engine provider
back to Google
for you. So
yeah.
There's that. Web browsing makers, Mozilla has launched Firefox Send for private file sharing. I think this is a little bit of a, misnomenclature. They shouldn't have named it this, if that's the right way to use misnomenclature. It's called Firefox Send, and they say it's for private file sharing, but in this article, it shows that in their privacy page, they say, we receive IP addresses of downloaders and uploaders as part of our standard server logs. These are retained for 90 days, and for that period may be connected to activity of a file's download URL. Although we develop services in ways that minimize identification, you should know that it may be possible to correlate your IP address of a send user to the IP address of other Mozilla services with accounts. And if there is a match, this could identify the account email address. So it's private in the not private at all way. So if you want to use this and use it privately to share files, you would have to create a fake email address, create a fake Mozilla account, use a VPN to do all of those creations, and then further use a VPN to send the file and instruct the person that receives the file to also use a VPN to connect with. So lots of not private file sharing there, but it is, what is nice about it though is you can if you're signed into a Firefox account, you can send greater than 2.5 gig files. So if you have a large file that you're trying to send to someone, that's not exactly an easy task unless you're going peer-to-peer, and even then it's difficult to peer-to-peer transfer a file to someone. This basically allows you to upload it to a cloud server and then them download it from there. That I think is pretty nice to have that option out there. Yeah, so it's kind of like it's like a much simpler version of sharing a file on Dropbox or OneNote or something like that. So.
Wow.
Speaking of big updates too, if you have a Google Drive's another option too. If you have an Intel graphics card and using the Intel graphics driver, you want to go ahead and update soon as possible, because they've found 20 security vulnerabilities, which they claim are very large vulnerabilities in the Intel graphics driver. So if you have any of those installed, or you still have it enabled in your BIOS, which you can disable the Intel graphics card in your BIOS if you're using a separate GPU, you can do that. I actually leave my Intel one enabled because certain things take advantage of the Intel driver to render video files and things. So, like I think Camtasia uses the Intel graphics card to encode quicker. So yeah, there's that.
Better turn it on.
Yeah. I had mine on and I noticed that Camtasia was using it.
Thanks. Cool.
So if you're used to the solar alignment and naming off planets, where you have kids at that age doing that, you can tell them to go and tell their teacher that Mercury is not first. It actually goes Venus, Mercury, Mars, Earth. So, thought that was weird.
Okay.
We're still learning about space and how close the planets are together, which order they come in. Apparently, Mercury is closer to us than Venus for a majority of the time.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, for your delete file stuff that you went into a lot of detail on, I came across this make use of that's how to delete a file in use by another program. Your delete file thing takes care of all of these things, I believe, just by closing the file handles, right?
It will close. I think it does close file handles. Yes.
Yeah, and then it does the.
I'm not sure. Actually, I don't have it built to do that, but it might do that.
I thought that you had mentioned that it did before, but yeah, that was one of the. I was pretty sure that yours did it. That it did it. They didn't mention ours on here, but. I didn't think we had that as a free program either. I think that was just a d7x thing.
Yeah, it does it in d7x.
Yeah. So that's there. Microsoft, in other big news, is now letting you flip the tables on the Xbox. If you have a game on your PC you want to run, you can now stream it to your Xbox and use your Xbox controller for it. So they had been doing a lot with where you could run your Xbox on your Windows 10 system and use your keyboard and mouse or controller there. But now they flipped it so you can take a PC game and run it on your Xbox. So you can move to your TV and use your controller and your Xbox to play your PC games. It is still streaming, so you would have to have a graphics card in your computer that's supporting it. It's not using the Xbox graphics to render and display, so you'd still need a gaming PC to do this on, but it's like a Steam streaming thing. You can stream it to a TV and use it from there, but they've added in the full controller support, which Steam does as well, but I mean, it's Xbox. More people have Xbox, I guess. So. Yeah, it's pretty much Steam Link for Xbox, just built in and more accessible, I would say. Because Steam Link is easy, but it's not as easy as just starting a game from your Xbox, I guess. And that's about all I got right now. If you're a fan of Tom Scott's, he's been doing a lot of different. He's the You Might Not Know YouTube personality if you've ever seen any of those videos, but he also does a lot of game shows. If you check out his channel, he's got a lot of other different games that he's created as game shows, and his newest one is the Game Garage. This is episode 3. I thought it was actually a pretty cool game, but check out episode 2 and 1. They were also interesting. I think episode 1 was more interesting than 2, and 3 is probably the most interesting to me. But he's got other games that he's done before, and he does some series on that. So if you're interested in unique game shows, recommend checking out his channel. And that one I really enjoyed. So as far as a game show concept, like if you're into Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune or Price is Right, like those staple games, these are not like those at all, but they're still game shows. So thought I would throw it out there for fun.
Cool.
Whose line is it anyway? Yep, it's another game show. Good job, Beavis. All right, well, that's all I got. I got to mow the lawn on this beautiful day, so I think we're about ready to wrap it up if we can. Talk over Proctor's keyboard.
I like how it got especially loud there at the end.
Yeah.
Too.
Bang it a little harder. He's like, I can't hear myself type.
It's like you could hear you talking over it, and it just got louder and louder. Couldn't hear you talking over it anymore.
Yeah.
This isn't a musical instrument?
Yeah. Anyway, wow, snow on your yards. Yeah, we do not have snow.
Yeah, no, we got a
growing.
nice. I'm wearing shorts today. Yay.
Yeah, I'm about ready to turn on the AC in the house even. So, all right, well, good show. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back next Thursday. Hope you have a great weekend, and guess we'll see you later.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye, Internet.